Okay, so let me get your name and everything proper because
Are you filming the whole thing?
yeah.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So we're here with Sam Sorbo, and she has the Sam Sorbo show on radio, and I noticed that she's an absolutely hardworking radio host. But now I'm going to interview her on a topic which we haven't covered yet, which is minimum wage. So the first question that I'd like to ask you is, should we raise the minimum wage?
Well, the minimum wage is zero. I don't know how you're going to get it up from there. You
Well,
don't have a job.
I'm talking about the legal statutory minimum wage of 7.25 an hour, which the federal government has imposed, and other states have raised to higher rates of 11 or whatever.
Yeah, this is a false issue. First of all, a raise in minimum wage is a false. It's a false issue because raising the minimum wage is actually a tax hike. The government takes a lot more money in taxes. Secondly, minimum wage workers are less than, I think, 2% of the employment force. Third, raising the minimum wage, what do you do with all the people who are at that wage now? Their wages have to go up or they're going to be disgruntled because they worked hard to get up to that level. Fourth, when they instituted minimum wage, it was a disaster, especially for the minority community. There's so many things wrong with having a minimum wage, so many things wrong with it. We really ought to examine the statistics surrounding minimum wage before we just go off with this feel-good sort of panacea thinking that it's going to solve problems. It won't solve any problems at all.
So let's examine some of the consequences of the minimum wage, because I share your view that we shouldn't have a minimum wage. And let's talk about whether, if you raise the minimum wage, will you increase unemployment?
Obviously. And in fact, no, they'll employ machines instead. So that'll be good for the machine industry.
Or they won't be able to support workers at that wage, and they'll have to go bankrupt or reduce workforce so they can pay less workers what they paid more workers before. So if you believe in the law of supply and demand, you know the obvious fact that if you increase the price of a product, you will reduce demand for that product. So if you increase the price of labor, which is when you raise the minimum wage law, you increase the price of labor, let's say to $11. Now what used to cost you $7.25 now costs you 11. Well, there's less people out there that are willing to buy that labor. In other words, less
That's
employers
right.
that are
That's
willing
right.
to buy that labor. Now,
And you
it's
increase
in.
the price of goods.
Well, let me just finish this. So, you have all these people that are asking for minimum wage raises, and you wonder, do they believe in the law of supply and demand?
No.
And I've asked a few of them, and they sometimes try to refute the law of supply and demand,
Yeah.
which is the basic principle in economics, 101.
Sure.
So, you agree with my analysis on this issue of raising the minimum wage ignores the principle of supply and demand?
Yeah, it's a very good point.
Okay, well, let's try to make an even deeper point here. So we're going to really destroy this minimum wage once and for all. Anyway, here's the moral question. Should relationships in a free society be based on mutual agreement amongst the parties? So labor relations, meaning when you hire somebody, when they agree to work for you, should that agreement be based on mutual agreement of the parties, based on mutually perceived self-interest? So if both of them think it's a good thing for them to engage in this relationship, it should be permitted. If both of them think it's not a good thing for both of them to engage in that relationship, it shouldn't be permitted.
You're asking me about freedom?
I'm asking you about the morality of not respecting the judgment of adults regarding
okay.
regarding their labor
Yeah, of
relationships.
course.
And so when you
Well,
when
either
you
we're a free people or we have to be governed and be told what to do. It's that simple. And apparently, a lot of people believe that the government needs to tell businesses how to run their businesses, even though the government doesn't run itself effectively.
Right. So when the government says you cannot work at less than 7.25 or $11 an hour, they are disrespecting the citizen who is saying, I think it's in my self-interest to work at $7. Why can't I do it?
That's right. Yeah, that's a good point.
And so it's basically immoral because they're forcing people to act against their judgment.
Are you saying the government is immoral?
I'm saying that this policy is immoral
Yeah,
because it's not respecting the judgment of the citizens.
that's right.
So, is there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, you summed it up very nicely. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, Sam. It was an interesting interview on minimum wage, and I'm happy you were flexible to do whatever topic I wanted.